Glad you see.
Yes, thank you, Joel. So again, good afternoon. Thanks for coming. I'm Denae Ford from the Department of Computer Science at North Carolina State University. And I'm going to talk to you about a little bit about our just-in-time mentoring program hosted on Stack Overflow. But first, I want to acknowledge my colleagues from Stack Exchange, Kristina Lustig and Jeremy Banks, as well as my advisor, Chris Parnin. So most of you may not be from Montreal, so many of you may be able to identify with this next scenario. So imagine this. You enter a new country, one you're unfamiliar with, and you really have to go to the restroom, right? But you don't know the local language. In fact, you will need to know, what to ask in order to say, where's the bathroom? How to ask, sometimes through the dialect and tone of your speech, but also where to figure out all that information. So consider the same example for new users entering an online technical community where you have to know what to ask, how to ask, and where to find that information. So this is an example of Sac Overflow, and I've highlighted a question here so you can see that for prospective community users, not knowing the answer to these questions can pose barriers and can be harmful to participation. And I'll talk a little bit more about these barriers. So for what to ask, in online technical communities, it can be difficult or challenging to figure this out because someone may have already recently asked a question maybe similar to yours. And novice users are often less likely to post these questions because it may be considered a duplicate. Likewise, how to ask through the community expectations can be quite challenging to untangle through the tone and the greetings and salutations. Finally, not feeling as though you can be as vulnerable and ask a question in this space because you don't see other users with similar experience as you. And we can identify these signals through the number of badges and points that users have that signify their participation. Also, the community often feels pretty big, so new users are pretty hesitant to make a mistake, and they don't want to be asking something crazy in front of all the experts watching. And in fact, there are quite a few people watching. So Stack Overflow has about 50 million visits per month. Stack Overflow is the largest and most active Stack Exchange community for technically skilled workers. So people are going to this site to learn, share, and build their careers as it pertains to programming questions. However, this is not the case for everyone. There seems to be some big differences between who feels they can contribute in this community. In addition, those few who do happen to have accounts, they're not likely to be posting questions in this space. So to help novices, we implemented this collaborative editing feature where we have two core components. So the first is this collaborative question draft, where novices can edit their question iteratively and post to Stack Overflow directly. Second, we have a help room, which serves as a space where new users can chat with mentors to discuss and edit their draft. So to inform these design principles, we had these components that we wanted to include. So for example, we wanted to make sure users were able to be in a space where they can receive formatted and timely feedback. In the current status of Stack Overflow, there are comments that people usually use to do that. However, it takes hours and often days, and it's no longer as effective for users if they're not on the site at that time. Also, we want to be able to provide a private space where users can be able to get effective feedback and be more likely to receive it. Finally, we wanted to design roles of mentors that clearly delineate their responsibilities versus those from the community at large, where we're trying to have mentors provide feedback on questions, but not answer the questions. So to clarify, that's to teach the novices to fish, not fishing for them. In order to test out these interventions, we designed a just-in-time mentorship experience where we can understand how this mechanism can affect the community users. So our design goals. First, for our design, we wanted to observe and measure changes in question quality, to understand the feedback provided by mentors, and also to improve the experience of new question askers, because this was hosted live on the site, and we want to make sure we actually have the satisfaction of these users. But to expand elsewhere, we wanted to see how we can scale these benefits to the larger community in other online technical spaces. So next, I'm going to describe this feature in action and how it works, starting from where we were earlier, where a novice can post their question. So this is an example, again, of when a user can be drafting their question, typing it, and when they're ready to post their question, they're presented with an option to enter this mentor help room. So this novice, let's say they check yes. From there, novices they enter a help room, but mentors are also notified in a private mentor room where amongst themselves they select which novice they will help. Once Isa, our mentor in this case, selects to help Mason, she joins the help room and greets the novice and guides him through his question. Next, Isa offers feedback on how Mason can get his question better received in the site. So this is done through this iterative feedback process. So this is the example of our collaborative editing draft, where Mason, our novice, can edit the question in Markdown text similar to what's available on the current site as is. Mason will save the draft, and Isa will be able to see that this draft has been edited and be able to help him with more feedback iteratively. And at any moment during this process, Mason can opt out and say, I'm just going to post my question and forget what you said. And it could also happen at the end, which was the more common scenario. And the question was posted on the site, as shown here. So what we collected was over 33 days of activity on Stack Overflow. So again, this was a live feature. So we had a lot of users. So we distributed mentors to help across 4 large help rooms. Amongst themselves, again, they were able to designate which help room they would enter and help each novice. We had over 70,000 eligible novices. However, 520 opted to enter the help room. 271 ended up speaking with the 63 mentors we had. We call these interactions between mentors and novices conversations. And this resulted in 343 conversations, of which we sampled 100. So we used the transcripts from each of the help rooms, we had 4, and the question scores to be able to evaluate the activity. Following their experience in the help room, we surveyed novices and mentors about their experience. So what did we find? We found that mentored questions had higher quality. So we noticed that the average question score was higher for mentored questions. We also used Stack Overflow's question characterization framework, where good questions are those that have a positive score, neutral that have a 0 score, and negative questions which have a bad score. In summary, we saw higher good questions and lower bad questions. Next, our next major finding was that mentors suggested high fidelity improvements. So we identified 5 through our thematic analysis. The 5 are in the paper, but I'm only going to focus on 2 a little bit for now. But feel free to ask me questions about those others. So one of them is this community triage. So questions on Stack Overflow are often closed, or the ones that are opinion-based are closed as off-topic as well, because they're outside the scope of the questions for this specific community. So other sites exist of the Stack Exchange space. And mentors acknowledge that and inform novices of these. For those who may not be familiar, actually, the mentor says here, okay, the fact is that on Stack Overflow, you can't ask for libraries. You need to do that in another space. So Stack Exchange has over 172 communities, ranging from statistics, LaTeX, math, even travel. We also saw that this interaction with mentors was able to reroute and redirect these malicious questions that novices may have had. So one novice asked, how do I hack a Wi-Fi password? And the mentor let the novice know that this question was super inappropriate. So in summary, you can see that the mentors were able to redirect this malicious content that really did not belong in any of the communities. So next, we had a community culture of asking, where, like all communities, Sac Overflow has this experience or this cultural expectations of its users. One such norm is to ask direct questions without any salutation or extraneous content. that you saw there in the thank you. So one mentor actually said, you can actually remove hello from your statement. You might also see that mentors were able to offer that it's nice to be polite, but in Stack Overflow, it's not well received in this space. And here you see also that novices were thankful and were very happy to express gratitude that they will not get attacked this time, but we're not going to that too deep. So finally, our third finding was that participants were very satisfied with their experience. Once again, we surveyed novices as well on a Likert scale of 1 through 5, and found that they were really excited to participate and excited to see this new invention on the site, this new interaction of how they can use Stack Overflow. We also interviewed mentors who were actually really interested in giving guidance. And mind you, these were volunteer mentors. They even said that if we get the original poster, being the novice, through the first question with a positive experience, which is often what we don't see, we can be able to encourage them to continue to come back and ask better questions that can be better received. So, what does this mean? In our space here, we made sure to take advantage of this human-to-human interaction, where we found that this organic conversation with real users that developed between novices and mentors allowed for novices who were, for example, non-native English speakers to feel more welcomed. We also found interesting interactions between mentors and novices that shows they may have inquired information about their identity. So for example, one mentor asked a novice after they helped them, "Hey, are you from Egypt by chance?" And one novice mentioned, said, "Yeah, I actually am. I picked up on your name too." So we're seeing that these mentors are using these identity cues, whether it be the name or other identifying information you can get from the user's profile page. So we're seeing that the mentors may have been using this criteria to link or to identify signals and shared experiences with other users. Based on this example, we as researchers and practitioners can consider building tools that support these identity-based cues. More in these technical communities, thus providing more of an inclusive environment for online spaces. Next, through asking the community of meta users, which is how we solicited and asked to join or to begin building this tool, and facilitating this many-to-many relationship between mentors and novices in this space, in the 4 help rooms, we were able to imply this mentorship deployment allowed for early guidance in other communities that can shift the outcome of some user's experience. And we're starting to see this now in online mentoring for technical communities, but more so in a different context of questions and answers. Often more in times of live help, such as Python Tutor. So I'm not sure if you guys went to the Learning to Program session earlier this week, but Philip talked a lot about the Python Tutor tool, where he was able to have live help with these novices and interacting with also human mentors. So it would be interesting to compare with these mentorship interventions when they're being offered and at what moment in the process is most effective for novices. And even does it change if we change the mentors to bots? So, in summary, although online communities are widely used, these unfamiliar norms can leave novices discouraged from participating. But through just-in-time mentoring, we're able to provide novices with help to ask a well-received question, precisely when they need it. And in identifying when novice and mentor interactions are happening, we can define a new onboarding experience and a feedback experience in other online communities. Ultimately, these are helping us build these bridges over the barriers that people are identifying in these communities to get help for the novices, the help they need, precisely when they need it. Thank you, and I'll open up for questions.
Hi, I'm April Wang from Samuel Further University. Great talk. So I'm wondering, during analyzing the conversation data, do you sort of have an idea of what are some characteristics of good questions from mentors' perspective? What are some common mistakes made by novices when asking questions?
Yes. So of the thematic analysis, we have about 5. So other ones that were kind of more related to your question was this question framing. So mentors wanted to see what the novice tried. Common, highly rated Stack Overflow questions have a link to some experience, right? To another question, or to a code snippet. These were examples of the frames that highly rated questions were seeing on the site, and mentors were used to seeing those. Because even some of the mentors served as moderators, so they were really experienced with the experience.
So do you see, like, if we kind of provide them a structure of asking a question, does that method help with novices asking questions?
So it was interesting. That's a good question. So on Sac Overflow, there's already this how to ask page.
Yeah.
So it's funny because we saw a lot of mentors at one point amongst themselves. They were like posting that to novices saying, check here. And then amongst themselves, they were like, no, don't do that. That's not the point of this space. They would have already seen that if they knew it existed. So we found that it's valuable, but novices weren't reading that, right? They wanted to get that question out there and get the best feedback faster. So, yeah.
Thanks for your
Yes, thanks.
Just wondering what the hiring criteria is for the mentors, and what was the feedback like?
Ooh. I think I heard your question, though. Did you have a second part as well? The feedback that mentors were giving? The second part? Sure. So while they're figuring that out. So the hiring criteria for mentors, they were volunteers. So where we solicited for mentors, we posted this on the Meta Stack Exchange community. We posted about it on Twitter. We wanted to create a community dialogue about this. So I guess in one way, we wanted to make sure we were building a system that community users, even those who don't have accounts on the site, could be able to contribute to. We allowed people who may have different experiences elsewhere. So for example, maybe some mentors were teachers, some were moderators, some expressed their familiarity with other Stack Exchange communities. So these were some of the commonalities we saw between the mentors, and some of the feedbacks that we saw from mentors. We also posted in our wrap-up post where we actually had them say, it would be interesting to see how we can link novices better. So in our help room, we had many novices interacting with many mentors. We only had 4 of the 520 who entered the room, right? So that was one of the feedback. They were like, it was great, and they were able to see through mutual engagement, helping each other, but maybe we should experiment with another intervention, have a private help room where it's just one mentor and one novice working together.
And this was exposed to all Stack Overflow users?
So yes, we had up to 70,000 eligible novices. We identify these as users who had less than 15 points and less than 3 questions. We want to give an opportunity to people who may not have had a good experience before. But we rate limited it to 25% of that amount because we only had 63 mentors, but we did expose it to the entire community. But when mentors were not available in the room, we couldn't have all the novices be able to in the space because there wouldn't have been enough mentors to help. So we rate limited it as we saw fit.
Yeah. Did you try and scale this 100%? Sorry, last one.
You can, well, yeah, I'm leaving, but you can email me and tweet me, and my collaborators as well. We're all online right now.